Avoidants are not scared of love. They're scared of loving the wrong person. For years, people have misunderstood them. They call them cold, detached, even incapable of intimacy. But what if I told you the truth is the complete opposite? Avoidants don't run from connection. They are guarding it. Like a vault with one key, they wait, sometimes their whole life, for the person who proves safe enough to open it. And here's the part nobody talks about. When an avoidant bonds with someone, it isn't casual, it isn't temporary, and it isn't like the love you see in movies. It's primal, permanent. A soul-level imprint they rarely, if ever, undo. They can push away everyone else. They can ghost, detach, disappear. But with that one person, the rules change. Their walls don't fall overnight, but brick by brick, they begin to let themselves be seen. And once that bond locks in, it's for life. In this video, I'm going to reveal exactly who that person is, what makes them different, and why avoidants only ever bond deeply with someone like this. The hidden truth of avoidance. People assume avoidants don't feel, that behind their calm exterior, there's just emptiness. But here's the paradox. Avoidants often feel more than most people. They just learned early on that showing it wasn't safe. Picture a child who reaches for comfort and is met with distance. A child who cries and no one comes. Their nervous system learns a brutal lesson. If I need less, I'll hurt less. That child grows into an adult who looks self-sufficient, but beneath the armor is a storm. This is the truth about avoidance. They are not heartless. They are hopeless romantics trapped in a survival strategy. They dream of love, of home, of intimacy, but only if it won't cost them their freedom, their dignity, or their safety. So they build walls, not because they hate closeness, but because they secretly crave it too much. It terrifies them to imagine opening up and being left again. Every avoidant carries that wound. And here's the secret. Those walls are not permanent. They are gates waiting for the right key. Most people try to force their way in, banging on the door, demanding closeness, confusing withdrawal for rejection. But an avoidant isn't looking for someone to force the door. They're waiting for someone patient enough, consistent enough, calm enough to be trusted with the key. That's the hidden truth. Avoidants don't bond easily because they're not searching for anyone. They're searching for someone rare, someone whose presence proves that intimacy can exist without danger. When they finally find that person, their survival strategy doesn't collapse. It transforms. The walls that once kept everyone out become walls that protect the bond itself. And that's when you see it. The loyalty, the depth, the kind of love they give only once. Why most people fail them. Here's the hard truth. Almost everyone who loves an avoidant will fail them. Not because they aren't worthy of love, not because they can't love back, but because most people approach them with the wrong map. They think avoidants are broken, cold, or uninterested. They try to fix them, chase them, or punish them. And every one of those strategies detonates the bond before it even begins. Let me make this clear. Avoidants don't run from love. They run from bad love. They run from clinginess, from pressure, from people who confuse possession with intimacy. They run from partners who see their silence as rejection instead of reflection. Most people can't stand the test. They misinterpret withdrawal as abandonment, when in reality, it's the avoidance version of breathing. They lash out, demand more, or pull away in retaliation. And in that moment, the avoidant sees the confirmation of their deepest fear. If I show need, I'll be punished. If I trust, I'll be trapped. Here's the crazy part. Avoidants are constantly testing. They don't announce it, but every withdrawal, every wall, every silence is a test. Not to play games, but to answer the question that rules their nervous system. Will you still be here if I stop performing for you? If I stop giving you what you want, will you punish me, abandon me, or stay steady? Most people fail. They can't take the silence. They can't take the distance. They start banging on the door louder, screaming for proof of love, not realizing that their desperation only convinces the avoidant that closeness equals danger. And here's the brutal irony. The avoidant is starving for intimacy, but the way most people chase them ensures they will never taste it. That's why their bond is so rare. They don't want someone who forces their way in. They want someone who proves they can survive not being fed for a little while. Someone who doesn't panic when the avoidant disappears into themselves. Someone who can sit in the silence without making it mean rejection. Because here's what avoidants know, deep in their bones. Most people don't love. They cling. Most people don't connect. They consume. Most people don't want intimacy. They want control. And the avoidant would rather die lonely than surrender to that. So yes, almost everyone will fail them. But the one who doesn't? The one who passes every test, not by trying, but simply by being. Calm, consistent, unshakable. That's the one who breaks the cycle. That's the one they bond with for life. The person they bond with for life. Everyone else fails them. But there is one type of person, the only type who passes every test. It's not the loud one who shouts their love, not the anxious one who panics at silence, not the self-righteous one who demands constant reassurance. It's the rare one, the anomaly. The person whose energy doesn't feed the fire of fear but dissolves it. This person doesn't chase. They don't beg. They don't collapse when the avoidant retreats. Their nervous system is steady, calm, almost unshakable. They understand that distance is not rejection, that silence is not absence, that walls are not permanent. They don't see the avoidant as broken. They don't make the bond about proving something. They embody a paradox. They can stand beside the avoidant without clinging, and they can let go without disappearing. That balance is so rare, so otherworldly, that when the avoidant finally feels it, something shifts. For the first time, the fortress doesn't feel like protection, it feels like a prison. And in the presence of this person, the avoidant chooses to unlock the gates. This is the person avoidants bond with for life. Not because they're perfect, not because they force their way in, but because their presence says, you are safe, you are free, and you are still loved. The avoidant has waited their whole life for that experience. Most people either suffocate them or abandon them. But this one stays without smothering, loves without owning, waits without punishing. That's the secret frequency, the vibration that resonates with the avoidant nervous system like nothing else. And when that bond forms, it's not just attraction, it's not just love, it feels like destiny. Because the avoidant finally sees what they thought didn't exist. A person who will not destroy them if they open their heart. That's why their bond is permanent. The avoidant doesn't hand out second chances. They don't attach and detach easily. Once the vault is open and trust is given, they guard that connection with a loyalty most people will never witness in their lifetime. Everyone else? They'll keep running from them, misunderstanding them, labeling them. But with this one person, the rare one, the steady one, the one who proves love is safe, an avoidant stops running. And that is the only person they will ever truly bond with for life. The bond is different from normal love. When most people fall in love, it looks the same. The rush of texts, the constant reassurance, the open declarations of I miss you. But when an avoidant finally bonds, you won't see fireworks on the outside, you'll feel earthquakes on the inside. Avoidant love is not loud. It is not obvious. It is not a parade you can show off on Instagram. It is subtle, silent, almost invisible to outsiders. But to the one they've chosen, it feels like standing in the presence of something immovable. Most people confuse love with constant expression. But for an avoidant, expression feels cheap. Anyone can say, I love you. Anyone can shower you with words. The avoidant believes in something rarer, proof through presence. They show up when it matters. They protect in quiet ways. They stand guard over the bond, not with speeches, but with loyalty. Here's the crazy part. Once an avoidant bonds, their wiring flips. The walls that once kept everyone out now exist to keep the relationship safe. They may not hold your hand in public every second, but they will fight for you behind closed doors. They may not flood you with affection daily, but they will rearrange their entire life to ensure you are secure. Avoidant love is wolf love. It's not flashy. It's not performative. It is pack bonding at its core. A wolf doesn't announce loyalty, it lives loyalty. Once the pack is chosen, it is chosen for life. And that's why avoidant love feels different. It doesn't follow the rhythms of rom-coms or Instagram couples. It moves slower, deeper, in silence. The avoidant doesn't fall in love 10 times a year. They may only fall once, but when they do, it rewires their nervous system. That person becomes home. And no matter how far they travel, no matter how cold they seem, that bond holds. This is why people misunderstand them so often. Outsiders think they don't care, they're detached. But the one they've bonded with knows the truth. Every small gesture carries the weight of permanence. A look, a touch, the way they soften only for you. That's the love language of an avoidant. It doesn't look like normal love. It's rarer, heavier, and harder to earn. But once you do, you'll realize it was never fragile. It was the strongest bond you could ever receive. Signs you are the one. How do you know if you are the rare one? The person an avoidant bonds with for life? It won't be through grand declarations. You won't hear endless speeches or see a flood of texts. Avoidants don't announce their bond. They reveal it slowly in whispers. And those whispers are everything. Sign 1. They let you into their private world. Avoidants are vaults. Most people only get to see the polished exterior, the competent, distant version. But when you are the one, they start to let you in on their fears, their failures, their childhood stories. If they share the wound they've carried for years, you've crossed into sacred territory. Sign number 2, their withdrawal changes. When they don't trust you, distance feels like rejection. But when you're the one, their silence feels different. It isn't about pushing you away. It's about resting in the safety that you won't chase or collapse. They don't vanish forever anymore. They come back because home is with you. Sign number 3. Small gestures become loud. Maybe they fix something in your house without telling you. Maybe they change their schedule to protect your time together. Maybe they reach for your hand in a rare, unguarded moment. These aren't small, they're seismic. They mean, I'm letting you in deeper than anyone else. Sign number 4. Their walls soften but don't disappear. They don't become suddenly anxious or clingy. They remain independent. But you notice the edges aren't sharp anymore. There's a softness reserved only for you. And here's the biggest sign. You don't feel like you're chasing anymore. You feel chosen. Not loudly, not with fireworks, but with something unshakable. The avoidant has decided. You are the one who passed every test. And that bond, once sealed, is for life. Why it feels like destiny. For most people, love is a choice, a decision, a gradual building of trust and attraction. But for the avoidant, when they finally bond with that rare person, it feels different. It feels like destiny, because it breaks every law they thought governed their life. Avoidants spend years believing no one is safe. They train themselves to rely on no one, to expect nothing, to keep their heart locked behind steel doors. But when they meet the one who passes every test, something impossible happens. The body that was always braced for abandonment finally exhales. The nervous system that screamed danger at every sign of closeness finally relaxes. That's why it feels fated. Not because the universe wrote it in the stars, but because the avoidance biology itself rebels against everything they thought was true. It feels divine when a wound that never healed suddenly stops bleeding. And here's what makes it more profound. The avoidant doesn't fall for 10 different people in their lifetime. They don't recycle love stories the way others do. They may only truly fall once. That's why, when it happens, it carries the weight of destiny. It feels like finding water in a desert you've been walking through for decades. Most people mistake avoidant love for indifference. But when they're bonded, you realize the opposite. Their loyalty is deeper, heavier, almost ancestral. It's as if their soul remembers you, as if their heart recognizes home for the first time. Here's the crazy thing. The avoidant didn't choose this. Not consciously. They didn't wake up one morning and decide, you are safe, you are my forever. It happened at a level beyond their control, like a lock recognizing its key. That's why they can't easily detach once it happens. You are woven into their nervous system, imprinted like a scar that doesn't fade. To the outside world, it might look ordinary. Two people together, nothing spectacular. But to the avoidant, it's sacred. Because for the first time in their life, love doesn't feel like drowning or starvation. It feels like breathing. And once you've given them that breath, they cannot live without it. This is why avoidants bond for life. Not because they're stubborn, not because they don't have options, but because their entire being knows finding safety in love is a once-in-a-lifetime miracle. And when it happens, it feels like destiny itself placed you in their path. The danger of getting it wrong. Here's the part no one likes to admit. Not everyone survives loving an avoidant. Because when you get it wrong, when you push too hard, demand too much, or abandon too quickly, you don't just lose them. You lose the one chance at seeing the most hidden, sacred side of their soul. And that loss leaves scars on both sides. Most people never realize how close they were. They think the avoidant never cared, never loved, never felt. They walk away saying, "It was all in my head." But the truth is chilling. You might have been inches away from unlocking the bond of a lifetime. And because you failed the test, that vault will remain closed forever. This is the danger of loving an avoidant. You don't get infinite tries. They are not like others who recycle relationships, who forgive and forget easily. When they see that you can't handle their silence, or you punish their distance, or you weaponize their vulnerability, they burn the bridge, not in anger, but in survival. And once it's gone, it's gone. That's why so many anxious avoidant dynamics end in heartbreak. The anxious thinks the avoidant is cruel. The avoidant thinks the anxious is dangerous. Both are wrong. Both are wounded. But because neither understood the other's language, the bond collapsed before it ever had a chance. It's tragic, because when it's wrong, it feels like death. But when it's right, it feels like destiny. The line between the two is razor thin, and most people fall on the wrong side of it. That's why the one who doesn't get it wrong becomes unforgettable. They're not just another partner, they are the miracle. The proof that love can exist without control, without punishment, without fear. And that's why avoidants don't just love them, they keep them for life, becoming the bond they choose. So how do you become that one rare person, the person an avoidant bonds with for life? It's not about tricks, it's not about playing games, and it's definitely not about waiting forever, hoping they'll suddenly change. It's about embodying the exact presence their nervous system has been searching for all along. First, regulate yourself. Avoidants are hypersensitive to chaos. If your emotions are constantly spilling over, if every silence feels like rejection, and every distance feels like abandonment, you'll confirm their deepest fear, that love equals drowning. But if you can hold steady when they pull back, if you can breathe when they retreat, you'll send the message their body craves. It's safe here. You don't have to perform. You don't have to hide. Second, respect space, but don't disappear. This is the paradox most people can't master. The anxious partner clings. The insecure partner punishes. But the rare one can step back without shutting the door. They can say, "I'll be here when you're ready," and mean it. That balance tells the avoidant, love doesn't equal suffocation. Third, be consistent. Avoidants live by patterns. They've seen inconsistency their whole life, promises broken, affection given and taken away. So they test. They withdraw to see if you'll still be there. They stay silent to see if you'll lash out. And every time you hold steady, every time you show up the same, you earn another brick of trust. Until one day, the wall isn't a wall anymore. It's a doorway. Fourth, love without control. Avoidants fear being trapped. They fear love turning into a cage. The person they bond with for life doesn't try to own them, change them, or mold them. They love them exactly as they are. And in that freedom, the avoidant finally chooses closeness on their own terms. And here's the final truth. You don't become the one by chasing or begging or waiting endlessly. You become the one by embodying what they thought didn't exist. Safety, steadiness, love without fear. When you do, everything changes. The avoidant who ran from everyone else stops running. The vault opens. The wolf finally finds its pack. And that bond, the one they give once in a lifetime, becomes yours. Because in the end, avoidants don't bond lightly. They bond rarely. And when they do, it isn't casual, it isn't temporary. It's for life.